So we're checking in with Laura Martin, Quincy's substance use prevention coordinator, to chat a little bit about an upcoming virtual candlelight vigil. Hi, Laura. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for spending some time to talk with us about this, and just check in general and find out how you and your department are coping during this unusual time.
Sure thing. Thanks for
How
having me.
Sure. How actually has your job, I guess, been impacted by the pandemic, the way you do things?
Um, I mean, it's impacted, but I guess not really because I feel like in my job, things change so frequently because you're, dealing with the changing needs of the population as things change over time and services and programs. So I almost want to, and by no means has it been, you know, things are just peachy, but it's almost like the folks that I work with, they're adaptable and used to working in, epidemics. So it's it's brought together, I think, a lot of people. What I've been really happy to see is people really kind of recognizing, okay, like we don't need to do it all right now. Like collaboration is really key, working with the different community members. And really kind of addressing the needs of what's happening and preparing people the best we can, for people with harm reduction, for medications, people with food insecurity, because everything that's happening to everyone during the pandemic is also happening to people struggling with substance use or families whose loved ones are. So it's kind of, really just reinforcing that just as much as they needed support before, they need it even more now. But I think for a lot of folks, it's hard because they need support for their addiction, for their loved one's addiction, but they also need support for the impact of the pandemic, losing jobs. And a lot of people's connections have been cut off with meetings not being held. So there's a lot going on. We're no different than any other community that the opioid epidemic and, research has come out in articles that it's really, it's been impacted with a lot of relapses, a lot of surges in use, of a lot of surges and overdoses throughout the country, which just happens when things are thrown out of flux. So it's been, I think it's been like everyone else's, trying to do the best you can, trying to focus on what you can do and control, and giving people as many options as possible. And, at the same time, I'm kind of like, with a lot of people in recovery, it's really about like being in person, having that human connection. And me, even for my age, I'm very technologically challenged because I enjoy communicating with people in a direct face-to-face way. And that's been an adjustment, the Zoom meetings and doing something like this on Zoom. But what I've seen, honestly, and I'll just say this, my job, I'm working just as much. There's a lot of remote working, but I'm the only individual in my department. So that's kind of how I work. Plus all the social service agencies are virtual. So it's a lot of meetings, a lot of Zoom. And then afterwards, it's a lot of connecting with individuals on how we can address some of the problems that have been identified in Quincy. And it's really speaking, I will say, like, I'm speaking next week at the Recovery Center to really ask instead of me and, my colleagues who have information and experience with what they think is going on. I'm meeting with the community center to say, like, what has changed and what we as a city need to do to help you heal and recover or get access to services because of COVID. So it's added this layer that people are resilient and they're getting together and people have come together. So it's just what we're kind of trying to do. Mm-hmm. And it's all we can do. You always ask me these very simple questions and it turns into a long-winded Laura answer. But
no, it's okay. I think it's important to let folks know, what is happening.
Yeah. It's hard and it's so hard because everyone's struggling on so many different levels now. And my role, I feel, is obviously recognizing that, for even my own family members and friends going through so much change right now and just what this is doing, it shook our world. But I after that initial realization, I've really tried to focus on the need for advocacy and awareness for people that were struggling just to survive before this. And that's, the people that I'm fortunate enough to have a job that I can try to help. But it's important to say that, and also to recognize that roles like mine and the providers that we have in the community are so much more important now, because other people are just, they're dealing with their own horrible situations based on what this has done. So it's like advocacy has come back real strong.
Sure, yeah. Do you think that some of the social service agencies have, kind of learned from this pandemic and maybe are able to broaden their outreach given the remote meetings that they're forced to have now?
I would say absolutely, but I'll say one thing about our social service agencies, like you have Bay State, Manit, Interfaith, then you have Gavin Foundation, so many more that, they're built for this. They're constantly battling, to really meet really complex needs with very little money. And they do it. And that to me is like, yeah, of course they've had to adapt, but the resiliency of these executive directors, the Doris Coxes, Cynthia Sierra, they really show up for the community, with COVID testing and realizing the implications of, Manit being able to jump in like that, and Bay State, really being able to put together a lot of emergency interventions for families impacted and their clients. I mean, it's remarkable. Like, I feel like me talking about what I do, just collaborating with them, it's like I'm just trying to give them the tools to do the work that they just don't give up. It's pretty amazing. I feel like we don't hear a lot about them. They don't do advertising, but they blow me away every day.
Yeah.
That they deal with and keep going. Because these people that have been in the social services for so long, the Cynthias and the John McGanns and Doris Coxes, they've been doing this silent battle work for so long, and maybe we never even knew the things they have to do. So it's pretty amazing. And the community too, Life Community Church, so many different organizations rallying around each other has been pretty remarkable.
Sure. Well, if you think about it, these agencies have been dealing with a public health crisis for years. The opiate crisis was declared a public health emergency, before COVID ever hit.
And when you think about it, Joe, too, all of the issues that they address are constantly changing. They're never dealing with, we have the celebrations, but the work you do is dealing with these very complex, sad situations. And you do it to try to make them better. But then you move on to the next one. You know what I mean? It's not like there's an end game where everybody is okay.
Yes.
And that's what they continue to do, which I think is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And very resilient. It's like pandemic, oh, we got this. They're working longer and harder. I mean, I talked to some of those people, and at 9 o'clock at night we're talking because things are just different. And we've always kind of been like, we meet the needs when we need to meet the needs. But right. I sit back and I try to tell them too, because I come on here and because I'm the city role, but I'm nothing without those partnerships.
Yeah.
So
it's pretty good. To having a more in-depth conversation with those folks at a later date.
Yeah, definitely, because they're doing some great stuff, and they have a lot of really good insight into what's going on and what folks can be expecting to see, and services that we're adapting out there to meet the needs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but for this occasion, we're here to talk about the vigil. Traditionally, there was an in-person candlelight vigil held, right, for the victims of opiate addiction. But obviously, due to the circumstances, it has to be a little different this year.
Yeah. So the mayor started it way before my time. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, this would be the 11th,
wow.
Or perhaps, I think this would have been the 11th year. The Quincy ones. I'm thinking back to my flyer last year. It was either 9 or 10, but we're on Zoom, so I'm not at my computer. So the mayor started out way before my time, and then I came on, and August 31st is International Overdose Awareness Day, and I'm going to admit that I'm not much of a history buff, so I'm not sure how long that day has existed. However, I would say it's been a really important thing for families, for community members to come together and to grieve and to remember. And it's just, I mean, for me, having experienced the loss of my brother, 16 years ago now, I always think it's not going to impact me, but it's a powerful thing. And right now, I think it's very, very important. We actually, and I'm trying to correct you, we do it a little different in Quincy, and now we call it a vigil to remember those lost to substance use, because it wouldn't really make sense to have a vigil for people lost to alcoholism, opiates, other drugs. And because opiate awareness is, we talk about the opiate epidemic, but I would say, kind of going back and why we do the vigil the way we do it, alcohol use, I mean, sales have been skyrocketing. So we always want to recognize the families that also have loved ones that have died from the more socially acceptable, air quote, diseases such as alcoholism. Opiates with the strength and with fentanyl, unfortunately, it takes people a lot quicker. But there still really are those families that have been impacted by alcoholism and have lost a loved one to cirrhosis of the liver and things like that. And what I will note is that with older people at home, and this is not Quincy specific, any of the data that I'm talking about is really, nationwide. People are home a lot more. A lot of folks that, they were drinking every night, but, after a full day of work and they had to get up the next morning, we've really seen a huge uptick in problem drinking and alcoholism. So the vigil is to honor folks lost to any sort of substance use disorder. Okay. We don't really, we don't check or anything. And I thought that was an important thing to do, because opiates were stigmatized for so long, and then it's, people knew about alcoholism, of course, but it's not as fast acting. So that's what our day celebrates. Now, this year, although it's really impactful to do it in person, we felt like it would be irresponsible, especially given, we got to look out for each other right now. And the best way we get through this is decreasing the spread and infection rates. And, there would be a lot of older people there and just a lot of high-risk people. So what happened was, instead of just doing a Quincy one, the local communities, Braintree with Robin Houston Bean from the Sun Will Rise, and Weymouth with Paul Williams, who has my role for Mayor Headland, we decided that we would do a tri-town one. And it kind of made sense, because all of us have in the past done individual ones. And you're always scrambling for nights, you're scrambling to get the different people there. And what happens is we do videos, and a lot of the same people are in them. So, there's such connected communities, geographical, and, people that work in Quincy live in those towns, and vice versa, go to Quincy College. So we're doing a tri-town one. And so all of the photos from our previous year individual videos, Mark Carey from the mayor's office, he's, like I said, with technology, everyone knows not to come to me. So he has been amazing. He is going to be taking all the photos from the other towns and the new submissions, putting it together in a video, and it's going to be broadcast. So we are going to come together on August 31st, and it's going to be the three towns, my two counterparts, and then we're going to have three clergy members from the different communities, because the clergy really, we have like Life Community Church. They have Life Community Church has a big presence in Braintree, as well as Quincy with Aaron Cavan. And then Paul has some pastors that are very involved in his. So we didn't want to cut anybody out. And then we have Mother Olga from Quincy, who does a lot of work with addiction. So they're going to come together with us. We're going to do it in Quincy, but it's not open to the public. And what we're going to do is it's going to be videotaped by Mark and live streamed onto the Sun Will Rise Foundation website, which is the the website that Robin Bean runs, and it's a grief support group because she lost her son, Nick. And she runs groups in all over the place. She is like a warrior. She has one in Quincy at the Recovery Center. So it kind of just made sense for all of us to come together. So what the night will look like is the three mayors will all be socially distanced. We'll all have our masks except when we're speaking. And we're really going to keep it short. And we're going to really just let the video speak for itself. There's a lot of people that are going to be on it. I think Robin said in at least a couple hundred, probably. I want to say she even said higher than that, into the threes. And so instead of, since folks aren't going to be there, and it's not really an opportunity, my mayor has always sat back and, let it be what it's about. And I believe the other mayors are on board with that too. So we're going to have the speakers, we're going to have the video, and we're going to have music playing, and then we're just going to keep it really simple and let it be time for people to reflect and to watch the video and to kind of just feel the impact. And I think it's going to be really great because I think bringing it together and making it bigger with the surrounding communities has a bigger message to send that, we've made progress, but we've lost a lot of people and we got to keep going. And so that will be how the program will go. So it'll be live streamed, and then Robin will be offering a virtual grief support group afterwards.
Oh, okay.
Because that's what she specializes in. So that's the basic description of what it's going to be like. It's a little, folks can submit photos. We said August 15th. They can trickle in a couple days after that. We gave the buffer. And you have the flyer with the information of the website to go to. And what's going to happen is Robin, again, technologically, she's wonderful, has created this platform where all of the requests are going to come into the Sun Will Rise Foundation. And what that will do is we'll give you the opportunity to submit a photo or a name to be included in the video if we get it in the next couple of days. And then once that is done, if the individual wants at the three different communities, Weymouth, Quincy, and Braintree, I almost lost one there, on the day of the vigil, August 31st, so on the day of International Overdose Awareness Day, throughout the communities, we're going to be at locations that will be posted. I'll be at the New Way Recovery Center from 10 to 12, and there people can come pick up a bag that will have a candle for them to light. We'll have some information on grief support, and we all feel very strongly the only information we put on there is on grief support, because there's a time and a place for providing resources for further treatment for people that may still be struggling, but it's also really important to give people the space to just have this be about those that have passed. And, you can go to these other resources. I mean, obviously, if someone asks directly on the day they pick up, do you know of any? Of course. But we want to just keep it really true to what it's supposed to be about. And also, people can sign up for something that they've done in the other communities, a butterfly release. And it's symbolic, and they can do that during the day, kind of release the butterfly in memory of their loved ones. So folks can sign up. And if people are going to have difficulty coming during that time, they're also told to let us know that, and we can make arrangements to have the items dropped off. We clearly can't do that for everyone, but of course, if someone's elderly, if they're high risk and they don't want to come to a central location like that, we have enough time that we'll figure it out between the three of us.
Okay.
So that's really kind of what it is. And then it's going to be streamed live on Facebook. And then hopefully I've spoken with you and we'll be able to share it with some folks if that's not a time that works for them. Or if they're people that aren't super computer savvy. Unfortunately, we tried to do it where it could be broadcasted. It's just very hard with the different media platforms to do all that at once. So we're doing it the best we can. And, going forward, hopefully next year we'll be in a different place where we can all come together, the three communities, and, be together and see the impact and the power of all those people.
Are they real butterflies, Laura?
They are.
Oh.
I didn't even know these things existed, but absolutely. They are.
Okay.
Robin is she is ahead of these things with symbolism. Her and Paul, I was kind of just like, okay, sounds good. You guys order them. So.
Okay. And how are you kind of, reaching out to folks to let them know about this?
And that's another funny thing, right? Because it's something that's going to be available online. People can watch it afterwards. So it's almost, we're going to do a press release. So we'll put it in the Sun and the Ledger, and then Weymouth and Granger will use their local papers. We sent it to you, so we're asking for you to be able to distribute that.
Yeah.
And then, I'm going to email the local churches. It's difficult, too, because you don't want to put people in an uncomfortable position. You don't know if they're handing out papers, so printing things.
Yes.
A lot of, just like everything else with COVID, things are so different now, and we're all just trying to get the word out the best we can. I mean, truth be told, Robin, her grief support group is very extensive, and she has support groups in all three communities. So she's really, that's exactly, it's grief support for substance use. So she knows all these folks. And and other ways, the New Wave Recovery Center, things such as that. But it's not your typical year where you're super worried about the rain and people getting there, which in a way stinks, but in a way it's also, maybe this will reach a lot more people, or maybe someone that wouldn't come will watch it and, it'll have an impact on them.
Sure.
So we're just doing the best we can. We didn't want it to pass without recognizing it. We really felt that there's just no way to do crowd control. You can't have a vigil and then have folks come and say, I'm sorry, you're the 26th person. So
now with the
best
governor's
alternative.
mandate, for only 50 people in outdoor events.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And recognizing everyone's individual, I think so much of this, and this goes across the board, is recognizing other people's comfort levels and not making assumptions, and kind of what we're trying to do. This is the best way we knew how to do it. And, Robin and Paul put so much work in, and we'll kind of just come together and, we'll make it happen. And if it rains, we'll deal with that. And if it's sunny, we'll deal with that. And like I said, it's just going to be different this year.
Yeah.
Because I think right now people just need simplicity around things like this, but also it's important to have that, it's hard. I think it's hard for a lot of grieving folks right now too, because everybody's lives are so in shambles and they're dealing with other things. And we just want to make sure we don't let the day pass, because that's what it's about. It's about remembering those people that are lost and continuing to fight for those people struggling and giving a little bit of hope,
So again, it is the Tri-Town virtual Candlelight Vigil to remember those lost to substance use, Monday, August 31st, 7 p.m.
Yep.
And
correct.
the website, thesunwillrise.org, good place to go.
Oh, okay. I'm like, are you saying that? Because I thought you were asking me for verification. But you have the flyer, so I'd probably say thesunwillrise.com and everybody would be calling in. So, and like I said, photo submissions can be made. For the next couple of days, we'll do the best we can, like anything right now. And it just because we have to give, Mark has a full-time job and a bunch of other jobs, so he's been gracious enough with his time, and I just wanted to give him some time to put it all together.
Sure.
But we're more than willing, everyone can have a candle, as many people, no one's going to be turned away. There's no limit or time limit for that.
Good to know, yeah. And can folks reach out to you, Laura, at City Hall if they have questions or concerns?
Sure, they could use my email, lmartin@quincyma.gov. And if they have any questions, then I can direct them however they need be. But the easiest way to do it is the website, because Robin has it set up so simply. But I'll be there. I'm available for any calls and questions. Just email's the best right now, because in and out of the office, and I don't want to miss anybody.
Sure. Yeah, I understand.
Another note would be just to let folks know if they did submit in the last year to Braintree, Weymouth, or Quincy's, they submitted their photos, those will automatically be put in.
Great.
So they don't need to be resubmitted.
Okay.
And I knew, see, I had a little checklist in my mind, and that was my last reminder.
Yep.
So those folks don't have to worry about the next couple of days. Their children are already included.
Okay.
And feel free to reach out to ask to make sure.
All right. Anything else you think we should touch on today, Laura?
No, Joe, I think I Laura explained about 3 different things. That's what I call my long explanation. So, no, but thank you for the opportunity. I look forward to bringing on some of those social service agencies. Like I said, I kind of just want to give them a shout out for everything that they've done for the city, not just relating to substance use, but really just come together.
Yes.
It's pretty remarkable.
I look forward to that.
So I appreciated them before, but I appreciate them now. So.
All right.
All right, Joe. Well, it was great talking with you. Take care.
Okay, you too. Thanks very much. Yep. Bye-bye.